Hey guys, we're back for a Q&A. Questions I got this week from remote clients, in-person clients, or just speaking with people throughout life. So, first question, is fasted cardio worth it? A friend says I absolutely have to do it to burn fat. Not true. I would say that this is a personal preference more than anything. The way our bodies work is when we take in food, we break down and we store it as muscle glycogen 4 times that we don't eat. You would have to go way longer than simply, doing some running, some biking, some cardio before breakfast for it to elicit that. And I'd almost argue the opposite way. Again, your body composition changes are gonna come from the nutrition side of things. Your performance is gonna come from the training side of things. And I would say fueling your performance is going to ultimately lead to better returns because you're going to be able to put that much more into training. That being said, everybody's a little bit different. Personally, I do really well and enjoy the feeling of training before eating, but that's largely just because of the time domains of life. In order to get in training, I have to pretty much wake up, roll out, get it done if I'm going to be training first thing in the morning. So I'd say personal preference, you definitely do not need to, so I don't agree with that. Let's see, question number 2. What would you choose, an extra workout or more sleep? I would absolutely say more sleep. Sleep's so important for so many things. Training, that's easy. You can get that in at other points, just getting in a lot of extra movement throughout the day. But sleep is critical for everything. There's so much research too that backs up, like your cognitive function, your ability to react to things, as well as like your strength, will decrease dramatically as you become more and more sleep deprived. So I would forever argue sleep, and honestly in the whole hierarchy of what's important, I'd put sleep pretty much at the top. So I would absolutely go sleep over an extra workout. Next question. You mentioned NEAT, N-E-A-T, in a conversation. What is that? NEAT stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So basically it's a fancy way of saying anything that is not exercise, like rolling in, following my programming, going for a run or a row, something like that, would be classified as NEAT. So, carrying laundry from the basement to the top floor, mowing the lawn, carrying groceries, holding on to babies, anything that you do that's physical, but is not deemed exercise or viewed as you're going to exercise would be NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Also, in terms of like energy expended during the day, you can go as hard as you can for 1 hour in training, and you're not gonna burn anywhere as much as you will by just getting in extra movement throughout the day. That doesn't mean don't train. It does mean though that that getting extra movement throughout the day, parking a little further away, taking the stairs, all the things you've heard, but taking the stairs instead of the elevator, mowing the lawn with a push mower, doing things like that really add up in the long run, really creating more of a lifestyle. Super important to do. Let's see. What are CARs and what is FRC? CARs are controlled articulate rotations, which is a fancy way of saying that you take each individual joint, so neck, shoulder blades, spine, hips, knees, ankles, elbows, through its fullest range of motion. And the idea with that is that A, it primes your body, B, is as we don't go into end ranges of positions. So let's just say, as I'm here, I put my arm overhead. If I don't ever put my arm overhead, which seems silly in saying that, but a lot of people don't put their arm overhead anymore, all of a sudden, when you used to be able to be here, all of a sudden it's here. And then another 2 years later, it's here. And another 2 years later, it's here. And then all of a sudden what happens is you have to start making compensations, i.e. arching your lower back to get your arm all the way overhead because you can no longer go there because we slowly get stiffer over time, not so much from age, more from just not going into those positions anymore. So CARS is a very controlled way of slowly moving your body through in each joint specifically, through its fullest range of motion. Because at the end of the day, like movement patterns, like an air squat, is a bunch of joints that have requisites of ranges of motion that they need in order to properly do an air squat. So basically it's a way to continue to imprint and own the range of motion you have. It doesn't let you lose anything. It doesn't really gain much either, but it doesn't let you lose. There's other things you can do, and that's where FRC comes in. FRC stands for Functional Range Conditioning, and what that is it's basically a system using your body, and cars is a piece of that system, as its own stimulus. And basically what it's doing is every joint has a range of motion that's ideal, and you know, most people don't have that anymore. So it's a way that we can basically do stretching and strengthening using your own body, and then you use cars to imprint that new range of motion. So the idea would be, let's say you do a chest stretch against a wall. You would do something called pails and rails, which is where you push against the wall to deepen the stretch, essentially really give that time to open. But then we want to neurologically teach ourselves that we can own that. So I'm going to work on rails, which is trying to pull off the wall. And then I can do my shoulder car as I go through, and then I imprint, and therefore I have improved my range of motion. So FRC is basically the big umbrella, functional range conditioning. CARS, controlled articular rotations, are a subset of that. It's basically what we utilize in functional range conditioning. Ooh, good question. If I could only do 2 movements for the rest of my life, what would they be? I would say Bulgarian split squat. As much as they are brutal, they are so good, and pull-ups. I mean, you can spin that 1,000 ways, super good movements. Bulgarian split squat, you're getting the single leg work, quad and hip dominant. Pull-up, we spend an awful lot of time with things in front of us, sitting at computers. Pull-ups, just phenomenal to work on balancing that out, but also building posteriors is always good. If I'm gonna weigh myself, how often should I do it? Great question, super good question. There is so much fucking anxiety that people get around weighing themselves. So as a result, I don't like this. I weigh myself once a month, every Friday, every Monday, because everyone wants to ridicule themselves for what their weekend was like. Sucks, don't do that. I would prefer you weigh yourself every day. And the reason being is it really helps draw cause and effect, and you can see, okay, I'm a little heavier today. Why? My actions over the last week dictate as such. I'm down, my actions over the last week dictates as such. But basically, it absolves you of that anxiety of walking up to the scale being like, fuck, I hope it's not bad. And it lets you basically just put a bunch of points on a graph. So all of a sudden what happens is, because progress is never gonna be linear. And you're out of your mind if you think that it's gonna be linear. So you might go down a little bit, and then you'll have this regression for 1,000 reasons that goes up a little. Most people, if that's the day you weigh yourself and you didn't see this trend down, all of a sudden you're like, this isn't working, and you stop. And all of a sudden it bumps up a little, and it's just one more point. Causes maybe a little anxiety in the beginning, but over time you realize like it drops right back down, it keeps going, and then it bumps up again. But if you trend line that, all of a sudden you can see that the general trend is going down, and it teaches you to absolve the anxiety of this is not going well. So I would say daily weighing yourself if you're gonna be weighing yourself. What does EMOM, E-M-O-M stand for? EMOM stands for every minute on the minute. One of my favorite ways to train, basically you have 60 seconds in which to get the work done. Once you get the work done, that remaining time of that minute is yours to recover. So if you're gonna do, say, 15 push-ups, you do it in 30 seconds. The rest of the 30 seconds is yours to recover. At the start of a new minute, you take off again. Cool thing is you can do this as warm-up, so they can be pretty easy. You can do this for cardio style work, or you can do this for strength work to kind of keep the pace up. So they're super versatile, which is really nice. Is 100 calories of a cookie the same as 100 calories of veggies? Good question. 100 calories is 100 calories. Just like a pound is a pound, a foot is a foot. 100 calories of a cookie is gonna be a smaller amount, volume-wise. Just like, in an easier way to think of this is gonna be if you compare olive oil and watermelon, 1 pound, you're gonna have a lot of watermelon. 100 calories of watermelon, you're gonna have a huge amount of watermelon. 100 calories of olive oil, it's gonna be tiny bit. And that's something that they're both 100 calories, but it's easy to see in contrast. Largest thing I would say for that is they're more empty calories with a cookie. They're not gonna do much to fend off inflammation. You're not gonna get vitamins, minerals. You're not gonna fend off kind of all of the things that we need, those minerals and vitamins to help with our daily body function. Whereas salad, fruit, things like that, you're gonna be getting a little bit more value from that. But at the end of the day, 100 calories is 100 calories. Last question. A friend says Bulgarian split squats hurt their knees. Can you go over technique? I can absolutely go over technique. Seeing that these are one of the two movements I'd choose, we can do that. So Bulgarian split squat basically refers to your back foot is elevated and it's a split squat. So a split squat's gonna be one foot's in front, one foot's back, and I ease to the ground, come back up. Now the Bulgarian piece is gonna be the back foot goes up and all of my weight centered on the front leg. So from here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take an inhale, I'm gonna fill the lower part of my belly, ribs, and low back, and then I'm gonna send my hips back and down, and I'm letting my upper body hinge forward slightly. And as I do that, I pull back, my chest is forward, that loads this hip, takes some stress off the knee, and then I come up from there. So it's an inhale as I come back and down, my chest is forward, and again, that loads the hip, and I drive back up. To that point, the more upright my torso is, the more I have to split the weight between the back leg and the front leg. Gives you a big stretch and tension through the back knee, which we don't want. An indication is I don't want to feel the back leg working at all. I really want it through the front leg. And by hinging and pulling back here, I can load hip and it takes stress off knee. If I come more upright, that's going to be putting more pressure or more of the quad, more of an emphasis on the quad. Therefore, it could be a little bit more D-dominant. So I would say stay well balanced on the front foot and keep closer to a vertical shin as it makes it a little bit more hip biased and takes the pressure off the knee. But feel free to always send me a video. I'm happy to critique. So I want to try to keep these a little on the shorter side. We're at 12 minutes. We'll call that for this one. If you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, things you've wondered about, literally anything that you want covered, fire away. Thanks, guys.